set the table. Love, the guest is on the way. Furrows be glad, the earth is bare. One more seed is planted there. Give up your strength, the seed to nourish, that in course the flower may flourish. Love, the rose is on the way. Stars keep the watch when night is dim. One more light the bowl shall brim, shining beyond the frosty weather, bright as sun and moon together. Love, the star is on the way.
My name is Tim Atkins, and I serve as your Director of Lifespan Religious Exploration. I am both big and tall, wearing rainbow glasses and my holiday sweater that says "Slay all day," and one of them still lights up, so I have a lit up stomach today. So today we want to share a story with you that's based in something that really happened in a city called Billings, Montana in 1993. Well, 30 years is indeed a long time, and many things have changed since then. The main events of the story might just as well have happened last year, or might be happening right now in our state. Because sadly, there are still plenty of people who hate other people just because of who they love, or how they worship, or the color of their skin, or the language they speak, or just because they are somehow different. But the good news is that there are still plenty of people who are willing to stand up to say to the haters and say, "Not in my town, not in my school, not in my state. We don't put up with hatred here." This is the Christmas Menorahs, How a Town Fought Hate by Janice Cohn.
It was a cold December night in Billings, Montana. Christmas lights twinkled on many houses, and from a few homes, Hanukkah menorahs shone into the darkness. It was the third night of Hanukkah. At Isaac Schnitzer's house, there was a menorah in almost every window. Isaac was in the den working on his math homework, and suddenly there was a loud crash. Isaac jumped up. Mrs. Davis, the babysitter, ran in from the kitchen. "What happened?" she called. "Are you okay?"
"I'm all right," Isaac answered. "I think the noise came from my bedroom." Isaac and Mrs. Davis headed down the hall. When they opened the door to Isaac's room, they felt a rush of icy air. Isaac flipped on the light, and they saw what happened. The big front window was shattered. The electric menorah that had been on the windowsill was lying on the carpet, still glowing. Pieces of glass covered the floor, and on Isaac's bed was a big rock.
"My goodness," exclaimed Mrs. Davis. "Someone threw a rock through your window."
Well, Isaac rushed to the window and looked outside. The street was quiet. Whoever had thrown the rock was gone. "Who did it?" Isaac asked. "Why would someone do this?"
"I don't know," said Mrs. Davis, shivering. She quickly pulled down the blinds and unplugged the menorah. "Isaac, I think we should call your parents. Let's go to the kitchen and find the phone number they left us." Isaac nodded. It was very cold in his room, and suddenly he didn't want to be there. What if he had been in bed when the rock came flying through? A little while later, Isaac's parents came home. When they saw the window, they just stared for a moment. And then they turned to Isaac and they folded him in their arms. "Are you okay?" his dad asked.
"I'm all right," Isaac told them. but he was glad his mom and dad were home.
It must have been scary, honey, Isaac's mom said softly to her son. She turned to Isaac's dad. I knew this would happen, she said. These terrible people kept threatening and threatening.
Threatening what? Isaac asked. Who's threatening us?
Isaac, we'll talk about this in a little while. I promise, his dad told him. But now your mother and I need to figure out what to do. A little while later, the chief of police, Chief Inman, came up the walk. Isaac, your mom and Mrs. Davis and I need to talk to Chief Inman alone for a while, his dad told him.
Aw, Dad, Isaac said. Can't I stay?
Not this time, his dad answered. But we'll call you before Chief Inman leaves.
Yes, said the chief. I'll need you to tell me exactly what you heard and saw. Isaac reluctantly went into the den and tried to do the rest of his math problems, but he just couldn't. Finally, he closed his books, crept down the hall, and listened outside the living room.
He heard his mom say, we are not taking down the Hanukkah decorations. Being Jewish is who we are. We're not going to hide it.
You shouldn't have to, Chief Inman said. Yet it might be safer. The police will try their best to protect you, but with the holidays here, Jewish families seem to be these haters' special targets, especially families with menorahs in their windows.
I guess that's their idea of getting in the holiday spirit, Isaac's dad muttered angrily.
Throwing rocks through a Jewish kid's bedroom window. It's a twisted way of celebrating, Chief Inman said, shaking his head. When Isaac heard that, he couldn't help rushing into the living room. Someone threw a rock in my window because I'm Jewish, he asked. I think that's why someone threw the rock, Chief Inman answered. There's a small group of people in Billings who have been causing a lot of trouble. First, they sent out leaflets saying hateful things about Jews and some other groups that live here. Then they spray-painted threats and insults on a Native American home and tried to frighten African Americans in their church. Last week, they damaged the synagogue, and now they're throwing rocks at menorahs. But I can tell you this, we're going to do everything we can to stop them. Now, tell me what you remember about the rock throwing.
Well, after Chief Inman and Mrs. Davis had left, Isaac and his parents sat at the kitchen table, drinking hot chocolate and talking.
Chief Inman said that the people who threw the rock probably don't even know us, Isaac exclaimed. So why would they do that?
Just because we're Jewish, his dad answered. They don't know anything about the kind of people we are, and still they choose to hate us. It's the same with the other families in town that they're trying to frighten. They don't know them either, but they don't like their color or their religion or their beliefs.
But why?
I
Isaac
wish I
asked.
knew, his dad said. Haters and bullies have been around for as long as anyone can remember.
Isaac was quiet for a few moments. And then he burst out, let's put our menorahs away. Then maybe they won't bother us again.
His dad put his arm around him. I know how you feel, he said. It's frightening. But celebrating Hanukkah is part of being Jewish. We're not about to let some bullies keep us from celebrating our holiday. But we're not alone. A lot of people in this town, all kinds of people, are really angry at what these haters have been doing. And we're going to fight back. For one thing, Mom's decided to get in touch with the local TV stations. She wants to be interviewed so she can tell everyone in Billings what's happened to us and ask people for help.
Mom's gonna be on TV? Really? Isaac asked excitedly.
You know Mom, his dad said. When something happens that she thinks is wrong, she speaks her mind.
Isaac rolled his eyes. Yeah, that's Mom, all right.
So, let's pause from the story for a moment. Our story today is a good reminder that while many people in this country and around the world are celebrating Christmas at this time of year, there are other holidays celebrated by people of different faiths, cultures, and traditions. Hanukkah, which begins tonight, is just one of these. Now, some Buddhists celebrate Bodhi Day on December the 8th to mark the moment that took place 2,500 years ago, when Siddhartha Gautama achieved enlightenment and became the Buddha, or awakened one. We've got a Buddha back there on our altar today to remember that holiday. This coming Wednesday, December 21st, is a sacred day for Wiccans, neo-pagans, and many other people who find deep meaning in nature and in the turning of the seasons. The winter solstice is the longest night and the shortest day of the year, and it's a time to celebrate the cycle of life, the interplay of darkness and light, and the return of the sun. And we've got a sun up there on the altar to remember the solstice. On or around December 23rd, some of our friends who are atheists or humanists will celebrate Human Light, which is a time of year to honor the values of reason, compassion, and hope. And often red, blue, and yellow or gold candles will be lit to represent these different values. The Festival of Kwanzaa starts on December 26th. Kwanzaa is an annual week-long celebration of African American culture and history. Each night, families will gather to light a red, black, or green candle in the kinara, which is what you see underneath me here behind the menorah. Each of these candles stands for a different principle, like unity, self-determination, cooperative responsibility, and creativity. And these are just some of the beautiful holidays that are observed at this time of year. All of them are unique. Each represents a special way of being in the world, and yet all of them celebrate the wonder and the miracle of life, and all of them are expressions of hope, even in the bleakest times. So for our prayer today, I invite you to chant and sing with me some sacred words from different traditions, from Buddhism, Islam, Judaism, Hinduism, and Christianity. And the words are printed in your order of service. So I'm going to break you into groups. Let's see. Let's have about midway and up. So Fran, you're going to be the dividing line. So Fran and up, you're going to be chanting with me. You're going to be chanting from the Buddhist tradition, words that roughly mean the jewel is in the lotus. Right? And it goes like this. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Try it with me. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. This is your mantra. You're just going to keep chanting that. Sound beautiful. The group in the back, so it's a little bit more scattered, so everybody from, from behind, from Jody and from the Moors and back, so everybody on both sides in the back, halfway back, you're going to be singing from the Islamic tradition, words that mean there is no God but God. It's a little bit trickier. It goes like this. La ilaha il Allahu la alaha il Allahu la ilaha il Allahu la ilaha il Allahu. Awesome, and you're going to keep going with that. All right, this group on the side here, you've got probably the easiest part. You're just going to say, Shalom, Shanti, Shalom, Shanti, Shalom, Shanti, Shalom, Shanti. All right, got it? All right, you guys can pause for a minute. Choir, you're just going to sing the refrain from Angels We Have Heard on High. No harmony, nothing fancy, just the melody, right? So you're going to sing the whole refrain. Gloria in excelsis Deo, Gloria in excelsis Deo. But you're going to do that twice, all right? All right, you got your part? And we've done this once before and it worked beautifully, but it's been a long time. It's really cool when it works. All right. So you're going to need to watch me, and I am going to indicate when your group starts, and I'm going to start going like this when you need to start stopping. Okay. So watch me when you jump in, and we're going to start in that order. And we're going to finish in that order. So choir, you're going to sing your In Excelsis Deo thing, the refrain through twice. And then you guys are going to stop, and then the back is going to stop, and the Om Mani Padme Hum is going to end it for us. All right? The main thing is keeping the tempo. Where this falls apart is if it's Om Mani Padme Hum, all right, that's where you'll be from. So, let's take a deep breath. Remember that these are sacred words. This is a prayer. Here we go. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Keep it going. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. La ilaha il Allahu. La ilaha il Allahu. La ilaha il Allahu. Keep it going. Beautiful. Shalom, Shanti. Shalom, Shanti. Shalom, Shanti. Shalom, Shanti. La ilaha il Allahu. La ilaha il Allahu. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum.
Our story continues. The next day, a television reporter and camera person came to the Schnitzler's home. As the camera rolled, Isaac's mom explained what had happened the night before and spoke about the acts of hate toward the other people in Billings. Then she showed the reporter and camera person Isaac's bedroom. Earlier, the police detectives had come to take pictures and look for clues, so nothing had been moved. That evening, Isaac was excited to see his room on the news, but he felt kind of funny too. He had slept in his parents' bedroom the night before, but tonight he would be back in his own room again. Would he be safe? The Hanukkah decorations were still up in all the other windows, but he hadn't put his menorah back yet, and he wasn't sure he even wanted to. What if someone threw another rock? He talked about this with his parents as they finished cleaning up his room. The broken window had been repaired, and Isaac's bed had been moved away from the window.
We're going to do everything we can to protect you, Isaac, his mom reassured him. Chief Inman has arranged to have the police keep a careful eye on our house, and our neighbors have promised that they're going to do the same. Whether or not you put your menorah back is your choice, his dad said. You take some time to think about it.
Isaac nodded. He still didn't know what to do. Many people in Billings saw Mrs. Schnitzer on TV and had read about what was happening in the town newspaper. Then a special meeting was called by Chief Inman and a woman named Margaret McDonald. She was a friend of the Schnitzers and had worked with many of the churches in Billings on special projects. The day of the meeting was cold and blustery, but a big crowd filled the hall. Isaac and his parents were there too. The police are doing everything they can to catch these people, Chief Inman told the crowd. But it's important that we take a stand as a community. We have to show that an act of hate against even one person in Billings is an act of hate against all of us.
The Schnitzers have been urged to take down their menorahs so they won't be a target. But that's not the answer, continued Ms. McDonald. I say, let's take a stand. Let's all put up menorahs.
Great idea, said Reverend Torney, who was the minister at the First Congregational Church. I'll speak to the other religious leaders who couldn't come to the meeting today, and then we'll talk to our congregations.
But where can we get menorahs? Someone asked.
I think I have a solution, Reverend Torney answered. Our Sunday school just had a lesson about Hanukkah, and we handed out pictures of menorahs to all the children. We'll make copies of that picture, and the churches can help distribute them throughout the town.
Let's do it, called out Becky Thomas, a neighbor of the Schnitzers, and lots of others in the crowd shouted their agreement.
She said lots of others in the crowd shouted that. Thank you. Okay. Reverend Torney smiled. This plan just might work. Now I'd like to invite Susan Bishop up to invite us to our offering.
Every Sunday, we take an offering. Since 2002, all of the cash and designated checks from that offering have gone directly to external nonprofit organizations that are doing good work. They are our Change for Change partners. For the month of December, our Change for Change partner is the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee, or UUSC. Founded in 1940, the UUSC advances human rights and social justice around the world, partnering with those who confront unjust power structures and mobilizing to challenge oppressive policies. Their work is grounded in the belief that all people have inherent power and dignity. Current strategies current strategic priorities include global crisis response, climate justice, and Central American migrant justice. For those of you who are in the sanctuary with us today, in just a moment we'll be passing the offering plate. If you're watching us online, please make your gift by sending a check to First Unitarian and just write on the memo line, Change for Change, or make an online payment through our website, 1UC.org. Thank you.
The day after the meeting, Isaac's class talked about what happened to Isaac and his family. Isaac's teacher, Mrs. Pearson, had asked Isaac to bring in his menorah and to explain why his family celebrated Hanukkah. His friend Teresa Hanley had never seen a menorah. "What are the candles for?" she asked. So Isaac told the class the story of Hanukkah. And now we're going to take a short break from our story because we've invited First Unitarian member Steve Goldman to share the story of Hanukkah with us and to tell us about how the holiday was celebrated in his home when he was growing up.
Oh, hi everyone. I'm Steve Goldman, and pronouns he, him, and mostly hey, you. No. Oh, I'm Steve Goldman, and I'm a short, squat guy with gray hair and a gray beard that's not quite long enough to be Santa. So I'll tell you about Hanukkah, because I grew up Jewish and then met a wonderful woman from this church, Susan Biles, and became a Junitarian. It's just that common that it has its own name. So for the kids here, let's talk about Hanukkah. For the kids here, the kids up there, the kids watching on YouTube, want to tell you what it was like when I was your age and how I learned the Hanukkah story. And maybe like Isaac in our story also. The main things were Hanukkah comes a week or more before Christmas, and kids get 8 presents, one for each night of the Hanukkah holiday. That's right, 8 presents before their friends get them at Christmas. But the 8 presents don't necessarily have to be all toys. Some presents were socks or underwear or shoes that you needed anyway. But this was wonderful as a kid. But what's the history behind this? Why is it a holiday? What are you celebrating? Why is it 8 days and not 7 or 12? As a kid, I always thought 12 would be good. The story really starts with something like our chalice. The chalice, the flame that you see, is actually an oil lamp. And what's done is there's a oil that burns really well, and you pour it into that lamp and then light it, and we get that very nice flame that keeps going for the whole service. So having oil is important. In a Jewish church, which is called a temple or a synagogue, there's also an oil lamp, and it's called the eternal flame. And it's meant to be on all the time. So you need lots of oil. And it's on all the time in order to remind people to follow their faith all the time and to be good people all the time. So keep this oil lamp and the oil that's needed in mind. And we'll add some history and a story about good children. Going way, way back in history, around about 2nd century BCE, many Jews lived in a city called Jerusalem. And there was a big temple there, big building. And from another country, a big army of bullies came and made the Jews leave their city, leave their homes, leave their temple. It was a terrible time. But a small number of Jews, called the Maccabees, fought back against the big foreign army of bullies. And when that foreign army of bullies left, it was beaten, Jews could return to their city, return to their homes, and return to their temple. Winning this battle meant the Jews could return to having services in their temple, just like we do today. So Hanukkah celebrates victory in a battle and being able to have Jewish services in the temple again. So that's the reason for the holiday. But where do kids come in? Here's the story I learned from my parents when I was your age. This isn't official, but it's my family's story. And maybe for the boy Isaac in the story we're hearing. So, hooray, we're back in our Jewish temple. And it was time to light the eternal flame in the temple again. But where was that special oil to make the eternal flame light up, to shine brightly in faith and action? The adults looked all over the temple building for more oil, but could not find any. So the adults asked the children to go look also, because kids are good at finding things way down below, way up high, things that are really tiny like a piece of Lego or like a little piece of candy. So kids are good searching for things. And so looking all around the temple, all over, the children found a tiny bottle of oil, just a little one, but it had the oil in it. The adults put the oil in the lamp and lit the flame, and the flame shone brightly around the temple again, and Jewish services began. So hooray! Everybody thanked the children. But the adults thought, this little bottle of oil, that's only going to last a day or so, because the flame needs to be on all the time. But the particular oil the children found lasted for 8 days and 8 nights. And that was wonderful. And that's what makes the holiday 8 nights, from what the children found, the little bottle of oil. So, hooray for the temple opening, hooray for the kids, hooray for 8 days of presents. Well, that's how I learned the story from my parents when I was about Isaac's age. I want to tell everybody, here's what happened at our house, because it's coming tonight. All the Jewish kids in Oklahoma City have their phones set for an alarm for 5:22 p.m. because that's sunset. And nearly all Jewish holidays start at sundown. And what's good about December is that sundown comes early. So kids get their presents at dinner time. They don't have to wait till bedtime for the sun to go down. When Jewish rituals happen at home, they usually start with women or girls lighting a candle and saying a prayer. So at my house, my mom would light the top candle on the menorah, what's called the helper candle, and she would say a prayer. And then me and my brothers would look at the presents on the table. We'd look at the candles, count, make sure there's 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, because the menorah was special, because even kids who couldn't count to 8 could see how many candles there were and follow each night. So yes, 8 nights of presents, even if 1 or 2 nights were shoes and socks, not all toys. But today, kids get presents because of the kids in the temple way back when. But before presents, my dad told his Hanukkah story about the temple. The kids found the little bottle of oil. The lamp stayed lit for 8 days and 8 nights. And the adults said, wow, we should really give the kids a present for finding the oil. And then other adults said, oh no, this is really good, they should get 2 presents. So to solve the problem with the adults went to the rabbi at the temple. And a rabbi is like our reverend, someone who goes to school for a long time to learn about religions and how to help people. So my dad said that the rabbi at the old temple said, I see some adults want to give kids 1 present, some adults want to give kids 2 presents, but I think it would be nice to give children 8 presents, but not all at once, 1 present each night. And families should light a candle for each night of Hanukkah. So menorahs were made to count out 8 days, and for the kids, 8 presents. So again, this is a story from my house, not official history. Because my dad said the wise rabbi added, now it's good if a couple of the 8 nights of presents were not toys, but were socks and shoes, things kids really needed. And my dad said, this rabbi was very smart, but also my dad owned a shoe store. So at my house, when I was a kid your age, or Isaac's age, me and my brother would look at the presents, we'd look at the candles, we'd look at the presents, we'd listen to my mom light the first candle and say a prayer. We'd listen to my dad tell that story. And then me and my little brother were to say something good that we had done. Like the kids back in the temple. What had we done good that day? Were we a friend to somebody at school? Did we help our grandparents? Did we write a letter to a local politician expressing our views? What good thing did we do that day? So we shared those, and then my brother and I got to use the helper candle to light just the right number of candles for that night. And then it was time for presents. To pick a present, unwrap it quickly, and hope it wasn't just shoes that night. Then the menorah would go in the window for other people to see. And you can envision me and my brother looking out through the menorah, out into the world, out into the night. And every child should know something special about their religion. For you kids, you can tell friends that the song Jingle Bells comes from a Unitarian church. Yeah, really. You can Google it later. Google Jingle Bells and Unitarian Church. So, in talking about children and holidays and families, we can continue with the story of Isaac in Billings, Montana. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. And now back to our story.
Some bullies threw a rock in the window where I had my menorah, Isaac blurted out, just because I'm Jewish.
Were you scared? Jonathan wanted to know.
Well, maybe a little, Isaac admitted.
That was a hard thing to have happened to you and your family, Mrs. Pearson said. I read about it in the Billings Gazette, and so did the other teachers. We're all very sorry and angry. Like Isaac said, Hanukkah celebrates the fight for religious freedom. And the truth is, people have to fight this battle over and over again. And we're doing it now in Billings. Some of us are going to be putting menorahs in our windows, even though we're not Jewish. We want to show our support for Isaac's family and the other families that are being harassed in Billings.
Teresa liked that idea. She had been trying to imagine how she would feel if someone threw a rock into her window because she had a Christmas tree. It wasn't fair that Isaac had to have this happen to him. She knew she had to do something to help. When Teresa came home from school that day, she told her mom what the class had talked about. I want to have a menorah in our window, Mom, for Isaac, Teresa said.
I've been thinking the same thing, her mom said, but it's a decision we should make as a family. We've got to wait until everyone comes home, and we'll talk about this all together. It seemed like forever before Teresa's 3 sisters, her brother, and her father were home. And finally, as they ate their supper, the family talked about Teresa's idea.
Well, I don't know that much about Hanukkah, Michael said.
Me either, said Julian.
Teresa told her family how Isaac had explained the holiday. The other children wanted to hear more, so they went to the encyclopedia and looked up the section about Hanukkah. Now, a pause. For those who don't remember what an encyclopedia was, it's like a book version of Google or Wikipedia. Those didn't exist in 1993 for our story. So in the encyclopedia was a picture of the menorah, just as Teresa had described it. Let's draw our own menorah, she said, and put it in the window.
But what if people think we're Jewish? Elizabeth asked.
So what if they do? Michael said.
We could get a rock thrown through our window. That's what, said Elizabeth nervously. Or maybe something worse.
Well, we would be taking a risk, Mr. Hanley said. But some risks are worth it. People should not be treated this way. What if it happened to us? Wouldn't we want people to help? Count me in, Michael said.
I'll do it, said Elizabeth. Julian and Kathleen agreed to.
Mom! Isaac called out as he walked in the door after gymnastics. My friend Greg told me that the Catholic high school put a big sign in their window that said, "Let's try to get along." And someone threw a brick at it and smashed the window in a zillion pieces.
Yes, I know, his mom answered. I was just at a meeting about it. As usual, those cowards did their dirty work in the dark, so they couldn't be seen. Thank goodness the school was empty and no one was hurt.
Is the school mad at us? Isaac asked.
Honey, why would the school be mad at us? If they're mad at anyone, they would be mad at the person who threw the brick, his mother said.
But they were sort of doing this for us, and now their windows got smashed.
Isaac's mom thought for a moment before she answered, "Yes, Isaac, they're doing it for us and for the other families that these haters are trying to scare. But they're doing it for themselves, too. They're trying to make Billings a better place to live for everyone." And then Isaac's mom had an idea. "Don't take your coat off. We're going out for a drive."
Where? Isaac asked, surprised. It was almost time for dinner.
"You'll see."
It was getting dark as Isaac and his mother began to drive slowly through the neighborhood. "Look, Mom," Isaac cried. Look at all of the menorahs. In house after house, in frosty windows, Isaac could see pictures of menorahs. There wasn't a single street without the Hanukkah symbols. Like our house, Isaac said.
That's right, his mother agreed.
Did anyone else have rocks thrown through their windows? Isaac asked.
Yes, they did, his mom answered. But you know what? Isaac shook his head. People have become even more determined. The Billings Gazette printed a full-page picture of a menorah, and they asked people to display it on a door or a window in their homes. And they did, Isaac. People put up thousands of menorahs.
Isaac was silent for a bit, thinking. Then he said slowly, Mom, remember last year when I told you I wanted to bring some of my Hanukkah presents to school to show the other guys?
Uh-huh, his mom answered.
Well, now don't be mad, but I didn't tell them they were Hanukkah presents. I felt funny, Mom. No one else gets Hanukkah presents. Everyone gets presents for Christmas. And I didn't want to be different. I just wanted to be like the rest of the class.
So what did you do?
Well, I guess I sort of told them that they were Christmas presents. But not this year, Mom, he quickly added. This time, when I show my presents, I'm going to say I got them for Hanukkah.
I'm glad, Isaac, his mom said softly.
Mom, stop!
What
Isaac
is-
shouted suddenly.
What is it? She asked, slamming on the brakes.
Look! And ahead was a house with a big picture window. Taped onto the window was a large picture of a beautiful menorah drawn with many brightly colored crayons. Over the menorah was a message. For our friend Isaac, it read, with love from Teresa and the rest of the Hanley family. Underneath it was a picture of a Jewish star and a Christian cross. She didn't tell me she was doing this, Isaac said. She never said anything. Isaac's mom turned toward him, and he saw that there were tears in her eyes.
You know, honey, hate can make a lot of noise. Love and courage are usually quieter, but in the end, they're the strongest. And once more, let's pause here because what Isaac's mom said is worth repeating. Hate can make a lot of noise. Love and courage are usually quieter, but in the end, they're the strongest. And here is where I invite you to hold up the signs that you found in your pews. These signs say coexist, and some of them represent just some of the groups of people who have been targeted for violence in our country. I invite you to hold the signs high in solidarity. And if you are not personally a member of that group, I invite you to consider posting that sign somewhere in a window or where others can see it when you get home.
Yes, you can take these with you.
All right, you can lower those signs. And one last thing before we wrap up our story. It might feel like, as one little person, there's nothing you can do to stop hate. But every time you have a civil conversation with someone from another faith tradition, you are resisting hate. Every time you acknowledge that not everyone celebrates the same holidays you do, you are resisting hate. Every time you learn something about the history of marginalized people in this country, you are resisting hate. Every time you introduce yourself with your pronouns, you are resisting hate. Every time you ask, is this accessible to someone who uses a wheelchair or who's blind or hearing impaired, you are resisting hate. Just look at how powerful you are. And when you join with others in love and in courage, there is nothing that can stop you.
Our story concludes. All the way home, Isaac looked at the menorahs in his neighbor's windows, and he thought about what his mom had said, and then he made a decision. The next day was gray and gloomy, but in the evening, a warm, inviting light shone from Isaac's bedroom. Gathered around the window were Isaac and all of the Hanley children. They had just finished putting up new holiday decorations. Isaac's menorah was perched on the sill. Every branch was brightly lit and shone on the sign which had been strung across the length of the window. Happy Hanukkah to everyone in Billings, the sign read, with love from Isaac. As Hanukkah passed and Christmas grew nearer, more and more menorahs could be seen throughout Billings. The town continued to fight against the acts of hatred, and slowly but surely those acts began to stop. The townspeople told each other that this was a gift they had given to themselves, and that it was their best holiday gift ever.
Please rise in body or in spirit for our final hymn. It's number 221, Light One Candle.
Light one candle for the Maccabee children, with thanks that their light didn't die. Light one candle for the pain they endured when their right to exist was denied. Light one candle for the terrible sacrifice justice and freedom demand. But light one candle for the wisdom to know when the peacemaker's time is at hand. Don't let the light go out. It's lasted for so many years. Don't let the light go out. Let it shine through all of our tears. Light one candle for the strength that we need to never become our own foe. Light one candle for those who are suffering the pain that let no long ago. Light one candle for all we believe in, that anger won't tear us apart. And light one candle to bring us together with peace as the song in our heart. Don't let the light go out. It's lasted for so many years. Don't let the light go out. Let it shine through our love and our tears. What is the memory that valued so highly? We keep it alive in that flame. What's the commitment to those who have died? When we cry out, they've not died in vain. Have we come this far, always believing that justice would somehow prevail? This is the burden, and this is the promise, and this is why we will not fail. Don't let the light go out. It's lasted for so many years. Don't let the light go out. Let it shine through our love and our tears.
We extinguish this flame, but not the light of love and community which burns in our hearts.
Couple of quick announcements. As always, all are welcome in Daniel Hall after our service for coffee and conversation. As you are leaving today, you will find at both exits copies of the Article 2 draft that, remember, we talked about last week. If you didn't get one last week and would like to read that, you'll find them at the doors. 1:30 this afternoon is our Death Cafe. If you didn't want to attend and you didn't sign up in advance, no worries, you are welcome to join us. This week, oh my gosh, there's so much going on. Tuesday, The winter solstice concert, 7 o'clock. It is going to be beautiful. Please join us. On Christmas Eve, on Saturday, we'll have a 5 o'clock service and a 7 o'clock service. And then next Sunday, Christmas Day, we will not have a regular worship service. We will not have religious education, any of our regular programming. But if you're available and you would like to join me, I will be in Daniel Hall. We will have conversation, drink some hot chocolate, and we'll make care packages to deliver on our way home to people who may be ill or homebound or just need a little extra love. So that's what's going on this week. And now, go in love, go in courage, go do the work of healing a hate-ravaged world. And know that you do not do this work alone. Shalom, Shanti, Amen, Amin. Blessed be.